Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here and you like the content you're about to see, I hope you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell that's right down here to see when the next video comes up. So right now I'm in Alley Pond Park in Queens, about 10 minute drive from my home. It's about 7:45 in the morning. Sun's been up about 90 minutes. If you hear a certain amount of traffic noise, that's because I'm only about a couple hundred yards away from a major highway right over that way. And this is a kind of a popular area for dog walking, so if you hear a lot of barking dogs in the background, that's the reason for that also. But I'm going to walk into the park here, try and get some woodland photography, see if I can find some images, which is always a challenge in the woods. But seeing as this is not the best area for like grand vistas, woodland is pretty much the best option in this area this time of day. So let's go in and see what I can find. Isn't it always the way? I didn't bring my birding lens because I want to do landscape photography, and there are migrating songbirds all around. I was just talking to a couple of birders. You might see them in the background. The black white warblers, the red starts. It's definitely migrating warbler season. So I might have to come back to this park tomorrow with the big boy and try and do some birding. So that might be a separate video in and of itself if I'm able to do that. You hear that? Well, not the road noise. That's the Cross Island Parkway. But there's chattering birds. There's a eastern wood pewee in the background. So, moving on. You might remember from my video a couple of weeks ago that I shot in Harriman State Park that a tropical storm had blown through here in New York, and unfortunately it's taken quite a toll here in Alley Pond Park in Queens. There's deadfall all around from trees that went down a couple of weeks ago. And it's really unfortunate. Obviously it's unfortunate for the trees, it's unfortunate for the park in general, but of course that is the way of nature. Trees go down, and when a tree goes down, there's a spot for another tree to sprout. But it is making it even harder than it would have been ordinarily to find a composition in this place because there's just so much dead wood and clutter. But I'm going to keep pushing on. It's not a big scene, actually. It's a these. I think they are not a jacket, but a laser or something similar like that. So fortunately, I have a macro lens. It's a Sigma 105. So I've zoomed in fairly close, but not too close. I want to get all three of the flowers here. This bloom here, this one here, and the little one right there. And I'm going to take a few shots focusing on one or the other. I think I'm going to mostly focus on this one because that's the one that I'm pointing at right now. All right, so I'm going to take a shot now. And I'm going to take a few because, well, just because. I don't know how many times, how many shots I'm going to need in order to get one actually in focus and not moving. So this is going to be a project, but I think ultimately you're going to like the result. So my exposure settings are going to be F10 at 1.6 seconds. I might have to stop. I've got my ISO set at 100, but since the wind is blowing, I want to be able to freeze any motion, so I'm going to jump that up to 400 and bring my shutter speed down to a half a second, and then wait for a pause in the wind. I mean, 400 is still fine. You know, a lot of people don't like to shoot anything over 100 even for macros, but 400 is just fine. You'll have minimal noise, and what noise you do have, you'll be able to clean up in Photoshop. So let me take the shot right now I'm going to refine my focus a little here. Wait for a pause in the wind. Maybe just change the angle of camera just slightly. Wait for the wind to die. And then wait for the plant to stop shaking. Then because I'm going to use a cable release, since I have to time the release just right now, as the plant is not moving much. Oh, there it goes again. This is the problem. One of the problems with macro photography in the field is that you do have to wait for the wind to stop, because any kind of motion is going to be magnified. So I spent a lot of time talking about exposure settings that I wound up actually not using because the light changed so much and because the wind just never really stopped. I wound up taking a few different shots at different f-stops, some at f3.5 and some at f9. And the exposure settings, in terms of the shutter speeds, I went anywhere from 1/5 of a second to 1/25 of a second. So you'll see that in the shots that are coming up. I also got an identification from a dog walker on what the flowers are. They're called the jewel weed, and there's a patch of them not far from here. The flowers are just now starting to bloom, so in a couple of weeks there will be a lot of them, and they happen to be a favorite of hummingbirds, which will be soon migrating to Mexico from this area. So I will be able to come back hopefully and catch some hummingbirds in the jewel weed patch as they fatten up for their migration down to Mexico. So now I'm going to go walk around some more of the park and see if I can find anything else before I call it a day. Okay, this is going to be my last exposure of the day. Basically, you see I've got a log here covered with moss, a tree, and some ferns. Pretty simple. It's going to be kind of minimalistic. I'm going to wind up focus stacking this because of the depth of field between here and down there. I've got f9, about 1 second, maybe. Yeah, my exposure is going to be f9 at 0.6 of a second. Focus stack, 3 or 4 shots, and we'll see what happens. If I like it, and even if I don't, you're going to see it at the end of this clip. I thank you for joining me on this little venture. I'm going to go home after this. I hope that if you like this content, that you will have subscribed and hit that notification bell, which I think is right about here. And you'll see the next video when it comes up. And hopefully by my next shot, my next outing, I'm going to have a new toy to play with, and I'll let you guys try to guess what that might be. All right, so in any case, thanks again, and have a great one. Let me take this shot.
Seriously, bro. Let's go. Waiting. Come on, wind. I don't care how long it's gonna take. I'm gonna wait here if it takes me an hour to get this shot. And it might take an hour the way this wind is going right now. Is this good content?